Hi everyone. My Warhammer Fantasy series has proven to be quite popular, and I really wanted to thank everyone that has sent me private messages, asked questions, and left comments on my videos for your feedback. It's really encouraging to see that people are showing some interest in the game and coming to me with any questions and scenarios that they have, and I'm happy to answer any questions about the game because as should be evident by my other videos, I'm pretty passionate about it. Now, I have had a couple of my viewers and subscribers ask me for a rundown on character creation for the 3rd edition of Warhammer and how to build a character from scratch. So this video is going to be a journey through the process of creating a brand new character in your new edition of Warhammer. So let's take a little journey. Okay, the first step to character creation in Warhammer Fantasy 3rd Edition is to generate your character's race. Now, the book provides the option for you to simply pick the race that you wish to play, the 4 available races being human, dwarf, high elf, and wood elf. However, there are also optional rules provided for generating your character's race randomly. And just to kind of get the best Warhammer flavor out of your game, I kind of recommend the random generation method. And so how you would do that is simply take 4 fortune dice, and you would roll them and count up the number of successes that you get. If you get 0 successes, your character is human. If you get 1 success, you may choose between human and dwarf. On 2 successes, your character is a dwarf. And on 3 or more successes, your character is a high elf or wood elf, your choice. So in this example character that we're going to build, let's just say that I rolled 3 successes. So I can choose high elf or wood elf, and I decide that I want my character to be a high elf. Once you've determined your character's race, the next step is to actually draw 3 careers from the available basic careers and pick one for your character. Now, in the basic set, there are 25 available basic careers that your character may start out as, but with all the expansions that have been released thus far for the game, the current basic career options have been expanded to 49. Now, not every race is applicable to every career. Your race actually has a big determination upon which careers are available to you. So what you would simply do is you would draw 3 career sheets and determine which of those careers that you would like to play. So let's say for my high elf character that I draw the burgher career, I draw hunter, and I also draw thief. Now, if in drawing these 3 careers you draw a career that is not applicable to your race, you would simply discard it and you would draw another one in its place until you have 3 viable career sheets in front of you. Now, as it happens, all 3 of these careers are applicable to high elves, and so I can simply choose which of these careers that I want to play. And so let's say that I decide to make this character a thief. So my character is going to be a high elf thief. I will simply toss the other 2 careers aside for now. Now, once you've determined which career you're going to pick, you want to go ahead and collect the career ability card for that career. Each career has a special ability that only that career can use, and so this little card denotes the special rules. And so you just want to go ahead and keep that handy. Now that you've determined your character's race and career, you can now go ahead and get your character sheet out and you can mark your character's beginning attribute values. So your race actually determines where your starting attribute values, what your starting attribute values are. In the case of a high elf, like this character would be, I start with a 2 in every attribute except a 3 in agility and a 3 in intelligence. So all 4 of the other attributes start at a default value of 2. Now, you make one other adjustment to your starting attributes, and that depends upon your career. Every career has something called primary characteristics. There are 2 primary characteristics for each career. And so in the thief example, my primary characteristics are agility and fellowship. So I would increase the starting values for those two attributes by an additional 1 point. So the High Elf would start with a 4 in Agility instead of 3, and he would start with a 3 in Fellowship instead of 2. And these will denote the base values, the starting values for your character's attributes in the game. Now that you've generated your beginning attributes, you move on to the creation point element of character creation. Your character, depending upon your race, actually has a number of points that they can spend in 5 different categories. The first being on increasing your attributes, the second on acquiring action cards, third, talent cards, fourth, skill training, and fifth, finally, starting wealth and equipment. So if you are a human, you start with 25 creation points to spend. If you are any other race, dwarf, wood elf, or high elf, you start with 20. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that for the final 4 categories, the action cards, talents, skills, and wealth and gear, each category can have a maximum number of 3 points spent in them, which means that in those 4 categories, the maximum you can spend would be 12 creation points. So this means that for your attribute category, for a high elf character like this character, you would want to spend at least 8 points in increasing your attributes, because any points that you do not spend at character creation are lost. So because the max I could spend in every other grouping is 12, at minimum I want to spend the 8 additional points to get me up to 20 on my attributes. So for this High Elf Thief example, let's say I decide to increase his beginning strength from 2 to 3. Now the number of points it costs to increase your attributes at creation is equal to the value of the attribute that you're buying. In other words, to go from 2 to 3 costs 3 creation points. Now if you wanted to raise your attributes by more than 1 level, you have to pay for them sequentially, which means to raise an attribute from say 2 to 3 would cost 3 points, and then if I wanted to raise it again from 3 to 4, it would cost 4 additional points on top of that. So it would cost me a total of 7 creation points to raise an attribute of 2 to an attribute value of 4. Now the maximum that you can increase your attributes at character creation is 5, and that is pretty much considered about the maximum for characters in the game, though it is possible to achieve a attribute value of 6 in an attribute if it happens to be a primary characteristic of your current career. So anyway, in this example character I have spent 3 points to increase strength to 3, and I also decide to spend 3 more points to increase toughness to 3. Now my agility already started at a 4 by virtue of being a high elf and being a thief. And so I decide that 4 is a good enough value that I don't need to spend any more points on it at this time. My intelligence, by virtue of being a high elf, starts at a 3, and 3 is considered about average, so I'm happy with that score. My willpower, however, was only at a 2, the default value, and I decide that willpower is a significant enough attribute that I want to increase it as well, so I decide to spend 3 points to raise willpower from 2 to 3. And my character has a 3 fellowship thanks to the thief career, and I decide that I'm happy with that. So in total, I have spent 3, 6, 9 creation points to increase my starting attribute values. Now this means that out of my 20, I've spent 9, so I have 11 points left that I can spend in the remaining 4 categories, and that's where we'll move to next. Now that you've determined your starting attributes, the next section we'll want to look at is your character's skill training. And so, as I've demonstrated in my earlier videos, over here denotes your skill list, your basic skill list. So this is all physical skills. and this is all your mental skills. And additionally, for advanced skills, which are skills that can only be used when they are specifically trained by your character, they would be marked down in this section over here. Now, some of the races will actually affect your character's starting skill allotment. So at this point, you would want to go ahead and make a note of that. So because my character is a high elf, I have a special ability called Erudite. And Erudite says that I may train the education skill for free during character creation. Or excuse me, you may acquire the education advanced skill for free. So I would simply note down on my character sheet here that because I'm a high elf, I am naturally educated and I have acquired that skill. Now, like what some people may recognize from Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition, there are certain skills that can only be used when they are trained, and that is the case of advanced skills. If your character does not have an advanced skill marked on your sheet, your character cannot attempt checks with that skill. So education is one of those in Warhammer that must be acquired before your character can attempt to make skill checks with it. Now, the basic skills may be used even if your character isn't trained in them. So I've marked my Erudite skill. Now additionally, High Elves have another special ability that's called Isha's Chosen. During character creation, the High Elf may train one of the following skills: Discipline, Intuition, and or Observation. Now, this is a racial skill selection that you can make, so it's a free skill that your race gives you. Now, one of the things that you want to consider when you're deciding your racial skill is which skills are actually considered career skills for you, because during your skill selection, you may only train skills that are on your character's career skill sheet during character creation. Now, after character creation, you can acquire non-career skills for your character, but at character creation, you may only select from this list. Now, your racial skill, in this example, like in Isha's Chosen, can ignore that restriction. So I may train any one of those three racial skills, even if they are not on my skill list for my career. So that's one of the things that you want to look at when you're trying to decide. So for this character in this case, the thief's career skills are coordination, discipline, guile, skullduggery, and stealth. Of those three, discipline is the only skill that is an elf special skill. The other two, or that matches my career skill list. Intuition and observation are not skills on my career sheet. But for this character, I decide that I'm going to want to take a bunch of my career's skills, so I decide to spend my my high elf skill training on the discipline skill. So I simply would mark a little X in the box beside discipline to denote that I have one level of skill training. Now, as you remember from one of my earlier videos, each level of skill training allows you to add an expertise die to rolls with that skill. During character creation, you may only acquire a single level of skill training in any given skill. After you have determined your racial skill assortment based on your character's race, all characters automatically receive one free skill training at character creation, even if you spend 0 points in the skills section of your character. So, again, these can only come from the list of your career skills. So I decide that I want to, go ahead and train the coordination skill for 1 skill point. Now, you may spend up to 3 additional points on skills, and each point you spend gives you an additional skill training. So I decide that I want to spend the 3 points so I can get the maximum starting skills. So my additional 3 points I use to purchase skullduggery, stealth, and guile. And so my character has now trained the maximum number of starting skills that he can. Now, in addition, if you spend 2 points on your skills to give you a total of 3 skill selections, you can acquire a specialization for one of your trained skills. If you spend 3 points, you can acquire 2 specializations, and they can either be 2 specializations for the same skill, or they could be 1 specialization for each of 2 different skills. And so for this character, I decided that I wanted to take a discipline specialization, resist intimidation, and a skullduggery specialization, palm objects. Now, whenever a specialization would come up in play, you would roll the normal expertise die that you get for being trained in a skill, but you also get to roll an extra fortune die on top of that.